What a bullet! Scott Arfield! He's been threatening that recently, and all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end.
Burnley win the next ball. It's Rory now. On the outside, decent.
He got it! Ashley Barnes with it! What a cross from Rory! And there was Ashley Barnes, and Burnley leading the derby.
Knocks it quickly, finds Benson in space at the byline. Can Burnley get a goal here? Back for Brownell, saved by the keeper.
Burnley won it to the end. That is magnificent. They deserve that.
Only by Paul Teller, off for a hat-trick.
He's got it. Hat-trick for Nathan Teller. Oh, he's on fire at the minute. 3-0 Burnley. It's Nathan Teller's day. And Burnley are 3 up here. Fantastic derby.
Here's Benson, and he go on the outside, comes inside, top shot.
Oh, what a goal. Manuel Benson once more. That is top class. Burnley have done it. Fantastic. Clarets deserve the championship title. They've been the best side throughout the campaign. Burnley have won the second tier. What a fantastic achievement. The players have been magnificent.
Yes, hello everyone, welcome along to the latest episode of the TurfCast podcast. Full-time show after the Clarets record. A massive win at Elland Road, although someone had a go at me for calling it a massive win yesterday. Said no win in the championship is massive. Like in terms of our season, of course it's massive. Absolutely massive statement win. We are joined by a couple of, so I say a couple, I'm going to say a couple of new lads. Andrew's regular, you'll see it. You'll all know Andrew. How you doing, Andrew? You all right, mate?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Not bad. Feeling better today after yesterday's performance.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Really good,
massive
weren't
win.
it? Really good. We'll get into that in a second, but I do want to introduce Dan. You will not have seen him before if you're just a full-time show regular, but Dan does stuff for us on the TikTok. I sound like an old man, but I needed to get somebody a little bit younger to do it. So I recruited Sam because, as you can see, he's the fountain of youth. Sorry, not Sam. Someone just mentioned Sam in the comments, so I said Sam. I recruited Dan. So please be nice. This is his first ever appearance on the full-time show. You have done a fan reaction, though, haven't you, mate? How are you doing? You all right?
Yeah, living the dream definitely after yesterday. Yeah, I've done I think I've done a fan reaction and a couple of videos, but TikTok is the main one. So if you are watching, you're on TikTok, go and follow TurfCast on TikTok. I talk absolute nonsense on there. So yeah,
mate,
yeah. Cheers.
That's all we do on here, mate. So you'll fit right in. But yeah, love the plug already. Please do follow TurfCast on TikTok. There's been a couple of comments already though. Claret and Blue 1882 says, no, Sam, has he been mobbed? And Andy Bennett says, Sam is in hiding. Obviously, Sam lives in Leeds and has a lot of Leeds fans. Sam's just on holiday at the minute. He's gone away with the lads. Ironically, he's gone away with all his Leeds mates. So I bet he's had a barrel of laughs out there with all the Leeds mates. Chris is busy. So shout out to Chris. I know he's watching because he's just sent me this picture of him watching that where he is. So shout out to Chris as well. And we're still struggling to get hold of Layfield. Someone did actually come up to me at Elland Road yesterday and said, bring back Layfield. So I messaged Layfield and we might have him next week. And Vizet is obviously a massive YouTube star. So he's quite busy as well. But yes, let's get into it. Dan, with it being your debut? Yeah, debut on the show. We'll call it debut. We'll come to you first. What were your thoughts on yesterday's game, mate?
Brilliant, to be honest. If you was to tell me before the match they was going to get a 1-0 win against Leeds, I would not have expected it. I think what made us stand out in the sort of Leeds match is that we tactically outsmarted Leeds. You know, Leeds have a very, very strong squad. In terms of individuality, they have really special players. But in my opinion, what's really lacking in that side is Daniel Farke. For me, every time I've watched him, whether that's with Leeds or with Norwich, he's got plan A, and if plan A doesn't work, we go back to plan A. And it's you know, I think people have got a little bit concerned with the style of play that we're doing in terms of the dropping back and just inviting pressure. But I think it was the smartest thing to do against Leeds because we was able to get the counter and Koleosho scored an absolute beauty, like he always does. Very happy. I'm glad that Ashley Barnes' sort of mindset is going into Hannibal as well. I'm absolutely loving that. So yeah, big game yesterday, and I'm proud of the lads for getting the 3 points back for the league.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I do feel like Leeds are obviously a very good side. I do feel like we are good enough to go toe-to-toe with them, but I'm not going to sit here and complain. I've seen a couple of people, I won't mention any names, having a bit of a whinge on Twitter, just saying, "Oh, I don't really enjoy the style of play." Look, we went to Leeds and we did an absolute job on them, and I think that's all that matters. We tactically outsmarted
100%.
them. We basically just said, right, we've scored. It's now up to you to break us down. And it's funny actually, because we're all sitting here whinging 2 weeks ago, saying Blackburn didn't have any interest in playing any football whatsoever. We do the same thing at Leeds, and it's the best thing in the world. But that's football fans for you, innit? That's football fans for you, innit? We'll get on to individual performances and stuff in a bit. Obviously, I do want to talk about Hannibal as well, and not necessarily his performance, but his shithousery. But we will come on onto like individual stuff in a bit. But Andrew, I'll come to you next. Obviously, massive win, massive 3 points. Your thoughts on the game, please, mate?
Yeah, it was like I said in the chat. I hated everything about that game. Like, it was horrible to watch. It was hard to watch. It was difficult, and yet I loved everything about it. It was the Sean Dyche strong jaw was back. I think that game last season, we'd have lost that 2-1, 3-1. It was a hell of a solid defensive performance. I think I said in my fan reaction, I can't remember when it were. I think it's 2015 when we played Stoke and we won 2-1. It was like our first win in the league, where we spent the entire second half just defending. It felt like that. And like you say, 2 weeks ago, we're slagging them lot down the road off for doing the exact same thing. But, we did give them credit. It was a performance, and that's what we did yesterday. Obviously, Lucas got the ball, capitalised on a mistake, gone and scored. And then from there, it was right, you have to break us down and score. And there were many different players in the match who were absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, no, I agree. We played very, very well. Chris is in the chat, and obviously I'll bring Chris in because Chris would be sat here if he could. He says, yesterday showed Parker found a perfect balance between Dyche's resilience and Company's football. It's not like we played turgid football all afternoon. It was a tactical and masterclass, and that is, of course, what we've all just said. But I completely agree. I feel like we did a number on Leeds. We got the goal. I mean, it could have been a little bit different, and we'll get into it in a little bit because Leeds did have a couple of chances early on that it could have gone a different way. But yeah, we'll get into that in a bit. I've got some screenshots today because sometimes I do actually prepare myself, and today I thought I'd better prepare because it's a big stream, this one with a big 3 points. So I've got some screenshots coming in that we will talk about soon. But yeah, I do feel like that was perfect. I think at the minute, all I can say about Scott Parker is that he's pragmatic. I think I did an interview with Leeds United match day program, and they asked me in it, what do you think Scott Parker's style of play is? What's your identity? And I don't really feel like we've seen one yet, other than him being pragmatic. Like, if you look at the game against Luton, it was kind of similar to the one against Leeds, where it was a case of sit back and hit them on the counter. Obviously, it worked a little bit better against 3 points, I suppose. So you could say it worked just as well in both games. But obviously, we murdered Luton. And then in the other games, we've not really done that. Obviously, Blackburn scored and then sat back, and we struggled to break them down. But I think the main thing, Dan, is what I'm trying to say is, and I'll come to you next, is Scott Parker. He's shown that he's quite good tactically, I think, over the course of this season, hasn't he? He's done a job now on Luton, and then he's done a tactical job on Leeds and Daniel Farke as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's a really good thing saying sort of like we don't really know what kind of tactical style Parker wants to play, but I take that as a good thing, because when I compare it to the Premier League with Vincent Kompany, where he just was not willing to change or adapt to the league whatsoever, we saw like how much it hurt us, So when I think of, we look at games at the start of the season, such as sort of Luton, we've had Leeds, we've had Blackburn. They've not been easy games, and it's a case of
Sunderland
being
as well,
tactically smart against these games. And I think it's a case as well as, you know, Parker's come in, and I can imagine the atmosphere is absolutely shocking. He doesn't know who's staying. He doesn't know who's going. You know, we've seen the absolute meltdowns that's happened in the past couple of weeks with everyone wanting to leave. So when you kind of look at it as a whole of, you know, he's had to deal with all these sorts of players and the way they play, their positives, their negatives. I think it's going to take a while for us to truly understand what kind of tactical style that Parker wants to play. But I think it's a very good thing that we're playing this, like Leeds is, you know, with us dropping back and inviting pressure and then sort of attacking on the counter. We'll need to do that against big teams in the Premier League if we go up. Just, you know, I'm not saying we will. And that's how I take. I think let's not worry too much of what kind of style of play we're playing. Let's just take it as it's a very good sign of what we've seen of Parker, that he's willing to adapt, he's willing to change the style of play, because when we've had it with Company where it's just one style of play or nothing, it's clearly not worked. And I think when we look at that basis, if we end up going to the Prem, I think it really will complement us if we keep to that kind of style, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I see what you're trying to say. I guess the only counter argument to that would be that both times, obviously, Parker's been up in the Premier. It hasn't done very well, but at the same time, you know, he could have learnt a lot since then. But no, I do agree. It's third time lucky as well, and he will have learnt a lot from the first two failures and the Genk failure. Hopefully, if we get there, of course, we're getting ahead of ourselves. But I completely agree with the point you're making. Company last year was a case of no, it's all out attack or nothing, and it obviously failed miserably. Probably the worst season we've had in living memory for us younger than 40. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I just want to quickly shout out to all the people in the chat. It's always good to see you all. Clara Al, good to see you, mate. Solent, first comment about me being late. That's why we love you, Solent. Stuart Rhodes says evening. Sui says even. Simon Ed says, oh, lanky. Scott Sullivan says we need to introduce a fine system for poor timekeeping. Don't you? You'll make me bankrupt, mate. Claret Al says he drinks Moretti. Funny story. Well, it's not funny at all. Don't know why I said funny story. But I went to the spa yesterday on the way back from Leeds in my head, like thinking, I'm going to get some Moretti and I'm going to put a picture of it on Twitter of me drinking it. There were no Moretti. There were only Madre. But I thought, I've committed. I'm buying it and I'm still going to put a picture up as well. Claret and Blue Owl says, evening, Clarets. As usual, Joy's late. It's a free service, guys. Come on, I'm getting absolutely pelters in here about being late. Ginger Ali, good to see you, mate. Claret Al says, at least I'm consistent about being late every single time. Sack him, says Ginger Ali. That is harsh. Sack me from what? I tell you what, lads, if I gave up YouTube, you lot would all be gutted. But yeah, it's good to see you all in the chat as well. Even Joey Shilling's here as well. He says, ahoy, Ladios, yeah. Ahoy, Ladio, mate. But yeah, interesting comments as well so far. I do want to come to you, Andrew, now, because it wasn't all plain sailing, was it? I mean, it's a good 3 points, and I'm buzzing with the 3 points as well. Simon Woodhouse says, great show. Cheers, mate. Sorry, just quickly sidetrack them for a brilliant little comment from Simon. I'll tell you what, I'll bring this one up as well, because this guy comments on TurfCast stuff all the time. It's the Hannibal Medry Fans Club on Facebook, and I love the fact that they love us already. We love Hannibal, mate. He says, buzzing about Hannibal. He will give it all for the badge. Up the Clarets indeed. We'll get on to Hannibal later, mate, so make sure you keep watching and his brilliant shithousery. But yeah, let's get into the actual match itself then, because Andrew, I'll come to you first. It wasn't all plain sailing, was it? Leeds had a chance early on. I think it came from a mistake of ours, and it was, is it Joseph who went clean through on goal? It was, wasn't it? There's the chance there. I mean, look, we'll get into individual performances again in a bit. I do want to talk about Trafford, but Trafford didn't even make a save here, did he? He's put this one wide. Like, he should be burying this, and this is the only little bit about our game that worried me yesterday, is we did give some big chances away, and I feel weird saying this because I do feel like we played the best team in the league yesterday, other than ourselves. But a better team would have punished us and would have gone 1-0 down early on, and then would have been chasing shadows. And it's a completely different game then, isn't it?
Yeah, it's exact. Well, not exact same thing, but very similar thing to what happened at home against them lot. You know, with first couple of minutes, we've not quite settled into the game yet. A little bit of loss of concentration, and we nearly get punished for it. I mean, the lead striker should be burying that. You know, I'd expect any striker to finish that. And again, like you say, Trafford didn't make the save, but like Paul says there, his positioning was spot on.
Yeah, no, it's a
And he
good point
managed-
from Paul that he came out very quickly and narrowed the angle down.
and he managed to, he stuck out a leg, and I'd argue that he probably would have got to it. But yeah, it's one of them where at the start of the game, we've not quite settled down into it. We've lost a bit of concentration, but then we grew into it. And I think from that moment, they didn't really look like scoring a goal.
Yeah, well, before we scored, you're probably all right there, but I do quickly want to bring something else here. They had mind you, these screenshots are all over the gaff. I don't know which is which, but they had this one. We'd already scored at this point, so it was 1-0, as you can see in the corner. But this is a chance that wasn't from our mistake and isn't as clear cut, but you would expect a guy of Willie Gnonto's stature to put this in the back of the net, and then that equalises it. And again, it's a different game again, but we'd already shown that we could hurt them on the counter. So Dan, I'll just quickly come to you about the missed Leeds chances. It could have been a little bit different, couldn't it? But I think if Leeds get the first goal, it's a different game, and I'm probably not overly confident when you've got 36,000 fans or whatever it was, rowdy and backing them. But I think if they scored here, I would have still been quietly confident, if that makes sense. But they missed a couple of big chances, didn't they? To be fair.
Yeah, they did 100%. If anything, we are definitely lucky. The start of the game, when I saw Joseph pretty much one-on-one with Trafford, I thought, oh well, this makes sense. But I don't know whether it was Joseph just overthinking it or whether it's Trafford's presence. I have no idea why he hasn't booted that into the net. But I think we're very lucky, and I think you're bang on in saying that, that really could have changed the dynamics of the game. I think one thing that's very important with this squad at this moment is that we got to keep players motivated. We got to keep players' confidence up. And I think Trafford's a big one from that. When we look at the Premier League and we look at the past couple of weeks with players going everywhere and the performance at Sunderland, we really need to keep morale up. And I think if we had conceded that first goal 1-0, it wouldn't have surprised me if it went 3 or 4-0 after that. But the fact that we didn't and Leeds just couldn't find the back of the net, we are blessed in many ways. Like I've already said, I think we definitely tactically outsmarted Leeds, but we are lucky in that sense. Leeds, they had so many chances. I still can't understand how they didn't get a goal. That if never mind just like on multiple ones. I'm surprised that they didn't get a goal. But I'm in a group chat with my uncle, and we have a friend who's from Wales, and it's you won't think we're Burnley fans, because in this group chat we're the most depressing Burnley fans out there. I think if Messi was come to join Burnley, I still don't think we'd be able to say a nice thing about him. But yesterday's match, we were kind of when it finished, we were pleasantly surprised with the result, because like you said, there were so many chances. That especially the first one, that really would have changed the dynamics of the game. So although I do think we did tactically outsmart Leeds, I also do think we are very lucky to finish that game 1-0, 100%.
Yeah, because it's not even the chances that we've just shown, but they had them chances that both of them go in. It's 2-0 or 2-1 to Leeds, and that's a completely different game, as you said. That the dynamics of the game changed. But even the second half, yes, we will get onto the second half and a little bit deeper later on, but I thought we defended brilliantly in that second half. And even I said it in my fan reaction, even though we were camped in our own half, and it's not that we didn't have any intention of attacking. We just said to Leeds, right, you break us down. And then we did try and counter-attack them as and when, but we didn't really get much chance to, in my opinion. But I remember thinking, we're defending very, very well here, but we can't really complain if they do snatch a goal, because it's been literally Leeds for the entire second half. So, I do agree with that. That in a sense, we are kind of lucky, but I do kind of feel we did a job on them as well, if that makes sense. Colin McGlynn says it wasn't great, but those 3 points could be vital, I think. Got away with that one. Yeah, I guess you could say we got away with it, but at the same time, I understand that, I think we've done a job on them. We knew that scoring against Leeds and saying break us down is the blueprint. I actually work in Leeds, or did do, but now I work from home for the company that I work for. Long story, but I signed on to the Slack chat last night after the Leeds game, and there was a guy on the chat who's obviously a Leeds fan, so that's saying it's just the way to beat us. Sit back, we can't break you down. It's very, very poor. We need to get rid of Daniel Farker. So I understand what you're saying, Colin, but again, I do think we did a job on them. Andrew, I'll come to you on this one. A comment from Solent here. He says, highlights the difference between the Premier League and the Championships. It's not been called the Premiership for a while now, Solent. Sorry, mate. Just because you were having a go at me for being late, I'm gonna have a go at you for getting that wrong. Leeds are a Championship team, so miss good chances. He's got a point there, and to be fair, I think in the Premier League, that's a different game. We go down early on and end up chasing shadows like we did for the entire season last season.
Yeah, 100%. I think we're seeing that. Well, we saw that with ourselves. You know, the season we went up, we were a dominant team in the Championship. We absolutely ran away with it, and then obviously last season we were just kind of pretty piss poor, to be honest. And yeah, it's the gap between the two is sort of getting a little bit bigger, but that's a whole different discussion. But yeah, that's why they're still in the Championship and they're not in the Premier League. They're not the greatest, and like you say, any Premier League team puts them chances away, and it changes complete dynamics of the game. And we're 1-0 down within 2-3 minutes.
Yep, completely agree. Now, there's a comment here from Solent again. Not to overuse Solent, but this is something I want to talk about. He's already had his say. Let's talk about the penalty, because obviously Leeds had a big shout for a penalty yesterday. And I remember it was at the opposite end of the pitch, to be fair, to the away end. But I remember when Worrell went to ground thinking, why is he going to ground there when he's going in from behind? And then the referee immediately gave a corner, and I was thinking straight away, I'm happy with that. I could have been dodgy that. But then they had a bit of discussion with the linesman, and I was panicking, thinking, what's going on here? Now, obviously, we don't have any rights on this channel, and we can't show you the penalty incident. And I understand that screenshots always make it look worse, but we have got a couple of screenshots. There's the first one. Solent, I will just have to get rid of your comment because it is kind of like obstructing it slightly. But there's the first one. Worrell goes in. Apologies, I don't know who the Leeds player is, but Worrell goes in on the Leeds player. It goes in from behind him. He does get the ball, but he also takes the man's leg. So that's one screenshot there. And the second one is from a different angle there. That one looks even worse for me. Again, I know I've said screenshots can make it look worse, but there's a tangle of legs there. He does go on to get the ball for full clarification, but he does take his legs, and I think he takes his legs probably around the same time as he gets the ball, or maybe even first. Dan, I'll come to you first on this one, and everybody, please get your comments in whether you think it's a penalty or not. I'll be honest, I think we've got away with one there. I think looking back at that, it's a penalty.
Yeah, I think I've looked at this so many times, like I'm in the VAR room myself, even though we don't have VAR in the Championship. But I do think we've got away with that one. I think in my perspective, I think Joe Worrell has seen it as, you know, this Leeds player is going to score if I don't do this, and I think. If he just gets the ball, it's fantastic. But I think watching it back, I do think he just clips the leg first before he touches the ball. So for me, I do think, you know, if this was the Premier League and this was VAR, you'd see definitely that he just clips the leg and then gets the ball. So I do think we definitely got lucky there. And we got away with it 100%.
Yeah, I agree. Simon Woodhouse says 50-50 for me. Colin McGlynn says, if it was us, we'd be fuming. Andy Bennett says, through the legs is usually a free kick out of the box. David Gill, the comments coming in too fast. I keep missing them, but I love it, guys. Keep them coming in, obviously. David Gill says, it's a pen. Eric Hartlett, no, that's not about the pen. Ginger Alley says it's a contact sport, never a penalty. I don't know if you're being facetious there, mate. But to be fair, there's a few people who don't think it's a pen, obviously. Solent Claret doesn't think it's a pen. I think it's one of them where if it was 15 years ago, it's always a case of won the ball, job done, that's all that matters. Whereas now it's a little bit different. You can't really take the guy's legs and take the ball, but fair enough. If you don't think it's a pen, you don't think it's a pen. The referee obviously didn't think it a pen. Big, always serious. The best YouTube name I've ever seen. Says no penalty, got the ball. Matt Lowcock says some angles not a pen, some angles a pen. Fair enough. Despite everything, Matt still doesn't know. Steve Clark says ref was Leeds first half, so nice to be OTT. To be fair, not the Hannibal red card, the Humphreys red card was incredibly soft because he got booked for a ridiculously soft time-wasting incident. I think the second yellow is a yellow, to be fair. So I personally do think it is a pen. I think we've got away with one. Andrew, come to you next, mate. What are your thoughts on the penalty? Do you think it is? Do you think we got away with one?
I'm still not sure about it, to be honest. I think
I'll give you the other
if it
angle
was
just to see if that helps.
No, I think I'm with Dan. I've watched it that many times. I think if it were against us, I'd be fuming, screaming for it, whether he got the ball or not, because I always do. But if that's against us, I'd be desperate for it to be given. But then at the same time, he's got the ball. He might have caught the man, but like someone said before, it's a contact sport. You're gonna get the man every now and then. I don't see where it's come from where if you get the man, no matter if you get the ball, it's automatically a foul. I don't know where that's changed in the last few years. So to me, I'm still 50-50 on it. If it was, like I say, if it was us, I'd be fuming and want the penalty. I can see why the ref hasn't given it. But if that's in the Premier League, VAR look at it and they do give it as a penalty, whether it's right or wrong, they give it as a pen. So we've probably got away with one there, but yeah, I'm still not sure.
Yeah, I think you make a good point, and I think that's why the sport's become a bit softer in inverted commas recently. It's because of the introduction for VAR. So even in divisions where there is no VAR, like this one, it's still now deemed as a penalty when people look at it, because when they look at it in the higher league, it's also a penalty. But anyway, we'll move on from the penalty, even though it's obviously a massive talking point, because again, it's one of them talk. This is, and again, not to digress, because I always digress on these shows, but this is why VAR is sometimes, in my opinion, bullshit, because so many people now have seen it, and even people, on the telly and things like that. Because as Solent says here, the striker does move his leg towards the ball to instigate contact. But again, that's another thing, whereas that sometimes doesn't really matter anymore. A striker can do that and still get a penalty. So the rules are sometimes a grey area, I think, for me. And it doesn't really matter. You just put in another layer of uncertainty on top of it by using VAR, because despite everybody looking at it so many times, there's so many different opinions and stuff. But yeah, I do personally think that it is a penalty. But anyway, we'll move on. I do want to talk about some individual performances as well. We'll start with Fleming, because I did just see a comment about Fleming, but I don't know where it's gone. Drag back of Fleming a pen. That's the comment I saw. I don't actually remember that, mate, if I'm being honest with you. But there were quite a few drag backs by Leeds yesterday. Andrew, I'll come with you first on this one. Obviously, Fleming, new signing, made his debut yesterday. Bit of a surprise to see him in the team. Obviously, none of us expected Foster to be out, because we haven't really heard of it. I think in the end, Scott Parker has said that he got back late on Friday night with the flu from international duty. So that's why he wasn't risked, which is fair enough. But Fleming came in, kind of like playing in the false nine role, and did a brilliant job, didn't he? I was really, really impressed with Fleming.
Yeah, I was quite impressed with him. I think he's basically come in to play as our striker. I didn't really know a lot about him when we signed him, so I was a little bit skeptical of how good he could be. But yeah, I thought he played very well. Like a few people have said, he was pulled back quite a few times.
They stopped a few counters by doing that, didn't they, as well?
Yeah, but overall, I thought he played quite well. I am impressed with him. I'm impressed with most of the new lads, to be fair. But yeah, I was impressed with him yesterday. Looking forward to see what he'll do next weekend, especially if Foster's back. Will he drop Fleming, or will he move him?
I think what you said there, something I slightly disagree with, is what you're saying. I think he's coming to be our striker. I think he's probably going to play in the 10 behind Foster as like a long-term sort of thing, with obviously Anthony on one wing and Luca on the other wing, maybe flipping and stuff like that. So I think even if Lyle is back next week, then it's a case of Fleming is in the 10 role. But then who do you drop? Because obviously there's Brownhill and then Cullen to come back in. So do you drop Hannibal? Obviously Hannibal played very well yesterday as well. And wound the Leeds fans up brilliantly. So it's going to be interesting to see what we do next week against a team where we are expected to dominate the ball as well. So you will hope that Cullen comes in because he's probably the best midfielder with the ball at his feet, and you'll probably still keep Brownhill in there for his box-to-box runs. So then where does Hannibal fit in? Because Fleming's in the 10. We'll discuss all that, I guess, on the pre-game show and stuff like that. But a lot of headaches and good headaches next week for Parker to have when we play a team that we are supposed to dominate in. But obviously we may not do that, although they did get battered today by West Brom. So that's a good sign for us. But I do agree on some of the comments. Lauren looks a bargain at 500k. Put himself about yesterday as well. He does look good. He's not anywhere near as technically the gifted as some of the players that we've got, which is probably why he only cost 500k. But again, I would suspect that Cullen comes in for him, even though he did very, very well. But again, we'll see what happens next week. But Dan, I want to come to you as well. Fleming, your thoughts on his performance yesterday?
Yeah, I think first impressions definitely count. And he gave a great one, to be honest. But I think we still got to give him time, see how he comes by. I completely agree with you. I think he comes in as a 10. Although he did a job as a false 9. I think his best position is a 10, without a doubt. The way he plays as a 10 from Millwall, he's been amazing. But yeah, yesterday, I really liked what I saw from him. He understood the position he needs to be in. He made some really good runs. It was almost like he put 110% effort in the entire match. And you could tell because when it came to the sort of 17th, 18th minute, he was absolutely knackered. Or just before, around that time anyway, he was absolutely knackered. And he put an absolute shift in. And to be honest, I think it's the kind of 10 we've been looking for quite a while now. So, yeah, I'm really impressed with Fleming. But the question is, if he does drop down as a 10, which he will likely do, which midfielders are we going to drop? Are we going to drop Brownhill because he might not be here after a year because of his contract? Are we going to drop Lauren because he's just come in, although he's played very well? Do we drop Cullen because of injuries? It's so hard to tell, but I think when it comes to Fleming, I don't think we would have signed him and done the loan deal with him if we was just to keep him on the bench. I think he's a definite starter as a 10, and I think we've got a lot more to see of Fleming, but it's early days. I don't want to make any judgments just as yet. Great first impression. We'll see how the season goes on with him.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, not to digress again, because this is, of course, the Leeds full-time show, so not to talk about my preferred starting lineup, but I think the midfield three will be Fleming in the 10 with Brownhill and Cullen behind him, with Anthony on one wing, Koleosho on the other, and Foster in the 9, and then obviously you pick your back 5 after that behind them. I think that's the way we go with it. But then you've seen Lauren and Hannibal that are more than capable of coming in and doing a job. They've just done a job on what is meant to be the best team in the league, other than us. So I think that's how we do it. I just want to quickly, there's some chat about Foster's illness in the chat. There was a picture went not viral, but I went round on Twitter yesterday of him being in Paris at around 10 p.m. The way I gathered that picture, I'm just guessing. I took that picture as he was there getting his connecting flight, coming back from international duty. That's just a guess, because you can obviously fly to Heathrow. So why would he fly to Paris? I don't know. But I just saw that he was in Paris, maybe getting a connecting flight from Paris to Manchester. And then obviously Scott Parker did say, as somebody else in the chat said, I think it was Solent actually, that he had a virus when he come back as well. So it was worth not risking him. And obviously, if we'd have lost the game, we'd have all been saying, well, it might have been worth 15 minutes at the end, but obviously we didn't. So it doesn't particularly matter. There is somebody I want to talk about. I want to talk about Hannibal. We've seen Hannibal shithouser it go viral on Twitter. But for those of you that haven't seen it, I am going to bring it in now, and I'm going to bring the clip in that I've shared. Obviously, if you follow Jacob Horsefall on Twitter, go on there. He filmed a clip as well. That one went mega viral, and Daily Mail and Sports Bible and all that lot were using it. But I saw somebody tweet one from a Leeds perspective, from the Leeds end, and it's absolutely brilliant. Now, if you're watching on pretty much any device, including you two lads, by the way, I would warn you to turn your volume down a little bit on this. I'm going to bring it in about 10 seconds, but it's so loud. So let's just have a look at Hannibal's antics. But yes, it is quite loud. That is sensational. No matter how many times I watch that, I laugh. The Leeds fans were so rattled, and I'm not one of them to just sit there on Twitter and go, haha, rattled, because I think it's pathetic when people just do that. But they were genuinely rattled. Like, there's been one particular guy that's just been, he's gone all day. He spent his Sunday just telling people how he's not rattled, but yet you've spent your entire Sunday telling people you're clearly rattled. You've got people doing Munich air disaster signs in there, which is a disgrace, by the way. I'm not going to 1 second say all Leeds fans are dicks, but that particular Leeds fan is a dick doing stuff like that. That's how rattled they were. And as Colin McGlynn says in the chat, he's a loose cannon, but I love him. Andrew, I'll come to you first on this one. We loved Barnes, didn't we? As Leo says here, Hannibal, Barnes, Joey Barton. I forget about Joey Barton, man, obviously, because he's a bit of a loose cannon, more so himself now these days with Twitter antics. But I forget about him. But yeah, we've finally got a shithouse again, haven't we, Andrew? And absolutely, this is the way to win the hearts of Burnley fans. What a legend. What an absolute legend for doing what he did yesterday.
Yeah, he could end up being absolute crap for the rest of the season, but after what he's done in his 2 games, you know, how much of a... We knew when he was signing that he was a wind-up merchant. Like, I think when he played against us with United last year, he was winding us up. So we knew what we were getting with him, but yeah, I think the fact that he's obviously got the Man U connection there as well, like that's just rattled the Leeds fans a little bit.
That's why it's rattled him even more, hasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and he just, you could tell that he was soaking it all in and he was loving it, and I think that's what endears you to Burnley fans. If we love taking the piss out of Leeds fans. We love doing that. So for him to walk all the way around, and the fact that he had to go off on their side of the pitch and walk all the way around to get to our bench, it's just absolutely perfect. And like Leo says there, he probably will cost us a game at some point. And do you know what? He's odds on to get a yellow card every single match. Like, it's nailed on that he will get booked every single. But we've missed someone like that. We needed someone last year to just be a little bit of a shithouse, and even when Barnes left, we were missing that, and now we've got it back. And we've got a fan, like, he's played 2 games and he's already becoming a fan favourite.
Yeah.
Like, he's not scored, he's not got an assist, but he's just rattled people and he's already a fan favourite.
Yeah, honestly, that's why we loved Barnsley, like, to be fair, didn't we? We just loved him for the way he was and the passion that he was on the pitch. Like, Barnsley was a fantastic servant for us, of course he was. But there was some debate within his last year that, is he really still up to it? Obviously scored a goal against Blackburn, scored some important goals that season, to be fair, so you could argue that he probably was. But Barnsley was never the most technically gifted player, but we loved him because of the passion on the pitch and things like that. But we've got a shithouse back, and it's absolutely fantastic. Dan, I'm sure you absolutely agree with that. The fact that, he's an absolute liability and a loose cannon. And as Leo says, he might cost us a game. And you know what? I love it, but at the same time, when we play Leeds now in the return fixture, I know there's going to be a bit of needle there already between Leeds and Hannibal. So there could be a scenario where, Leeds, God forbid, win that game. He gets sent off and then their clips are all going viral and it all just does it again, doesn't it? So there is that side of it. But at the minute, it's absolutely brilliant in it to see stuff like that.
Oh, is this me jumping in? Sorry.
Sorry, Dan,
that's my bad. Yeah, with Hannibal, you are completely right. He's an absolute liability. He's a loose cannon, and I already love him with all my heart. The football gods have looked at Burnley and they've seen how much we've missed a shithouse like Ashley Barnes, and they've gifted us with Hannibal. And I am absolutely in love with the bloke already. I think he's phenomenal. I think his attitude is really good. I do think in some point in this season, he will definitely cost us. After
he'll 100% get sent off.
Yeah,
he'll 100% get sent off.
100%. After talking
get your mortgage
to a few Birmingham fans and talking to a few Man United fans, they said the same way. He does silly sort of fouls when he doesn't need to. We could be winning a game 3-0, and I can imagine he just gets a red card because that's just the kind of bloke he is. But I absolutely love it, and I think. Just touching on what Andrew said, if you want to be the Wolf of Wall Street, just bet on Hannibal getting a yellow card because every single game he's getting a yellow card. I think he's great. I think he not only do I really like his shithousery, I really like how he just fit into the system so quickly. He like the way he plays, the way he moves on the ball. He's not afraid, he's not afraid to make any sort of moves on the ball. He helps build up the play. I think he's great. I think he really does fit our system. And we touched on how, Joe, you think we'll start Fleming and then we'll have Brownhill, Cullen, and that is the likelihood. But in my head, I just can't see how we don't start Hannibal. But I also don't see how we can't start Cullen or Brownhill. So it's a midfield dilemma. But just touching on Hannibal, I think he's great, and I think we've got a great future with Hannibal, 100%.
Yeah, the Hannibal Medri Fans Club page on Facebook is still in the chat, and he says Hannibal is a talented player, but as well he has a spicy attitude. Hopefully he will get assists and goals in the future. I have noticed that a lot of like Hannibal fans always seem to put like a chili emoji. Is that sort of like referencing his spicy attitude at Fans Club? I don't know if you know, but every time somebody mentions Hannibal, they put like loads of chilies or something on the emoji. So I'm not sure what that's all about. But Dan, I just want to come back to you actually, because you mentioned earlier that the players were playing, with a positive attitude and stuff like that. It's a far cry, and this I'm just kind of thinking out loud here, but because we played up at Sunderland, and obviously a lot of them players Parker referenced in the post-match interview, some players don't want to be here and things like that. And that performance was poor. Some of the players didn't really seem like they were too bothered. But yesterday, we saw a bunch of lads, didn't we, that look like they want to play for the shirt and look like they care for the shirt. It's chalk and cheese, isn't it? That Sunderland performance to yesterday's performance. We looked like a team that actually wanted to be a team and wanted to play together, didn't we?
Yeah, 100%. So? It was definitely, I feel like we sort of seen the Burnley that we saw at the start of the season. Yeah. 100%. I think, I think it's the case of when we look at the sort of window and the amount of players that did want to leave, I'm thinking of 90% of them have already gone. And I think when we look at players, I want to use Koleosho as a prime example, because I'm not going to point the journalist out, but he was heavy on the fact that Koleosho wanted to leave. And I think that was agent talk. I think a lot of it was agent talk, because a couple of days ago, we've had Koleosho sign a 5-year deal. So for a player that wants to leave, I don't know why he's trapped himself at the club. So when we look at Burnley and we look at the Leeds performance, we could see that gel again. And I absolutely love it. I'm so grateful that the transfer window is closed, because it's a case of the players that we have now, they'll either have to play or not play at all. And it's a case of, I think the players that we do have playing at the minute want to play for us. And I'm very happy the window's over and done with. And we're back to the way of, we've got to tell that a team that's gelling well together and a team that wants to play with each other and wants to play for the club again. I'm very happy. Yeah.
Yeah, Solent says, the comment on screen there says, more importantly, it is a clear indication that the manager has told the players to go and play with freedom and express themselves. I can't see VK allowing this. I guess we'll never know. But I always also remember the time when Josh Browner was winding the Blackburn fans up and company came over and apologised. Like, you've ruined that kind of there, VK. You don't need to apologise. Flip them the V's. That would have been even better, mate. But obviously that would never company style. We've mentioned individual performances. Andrew, I want to come to you next. Obviously, I know you are big on goalkeepers, a massive Brian Jensen fan back in the day, still are, because you were a goalkeeper yourself. James Trafford, I'll be honest. I mean, some people, right, like I praised Trafford yesterday, and some people are like, you were the loudest guy criticising him last season. I said I don't think he's good enough for the Premier League, and I stand by that. I'm allowed to say that when a player is getting... what's the word? Putting in poor performances week in, week out. I also agree that he was hung out to dry by the previous manager. The previous manager should have dropped him earlier. It was quite obvious that he wasn't good enough to play in the Premier League, and the manager just was stubborn and refused to change his opinion on the matter and kept playing him until the noise got too much and the pressure got too much, to the point where he probably wanted to leave. But we'll turn it around, and I'm more than happy to sit there and say James Trafford was fantastic yesterday. I'm also allowed to say I don't think he was that good in the Premier League, but I honestly believe that he went to the Premier League too early and then was hung out to dry by the previous manager, and this is his level right now. Do I think he'll be a Premier League goalkeeper? Absolutely. Do I think he'll play for England? More than likely, because he's already in the setup and he's already even been given a senior call-up. Obviously, he didn't play in the game, but still, he's quite obviously highly thought of at England. But James Trafford yesterday was fantastic. That cross claim at the end, that's what we want from you, Trafford. We want you to take the pressure off. That's what goalkeepers do. I know it's a kind of a dying art these days, catching a cross. Don't know why. I even know that kids, when they're younger, as goalkeepers, come out and punch it. They're told to punch it. But him to take the pressure off yesterday in that catch at the end was absolutely fantastic. And there's a video on Twitter. We have retweeted it on the TurfCast account, so feel free to go and check it out, where the cross comes in from that free kick in like the 98th minute. Trafford catches it, and we genuinely celebrate it like a goal. But Andrew, Trafford was absolutely fantastic yesterday, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was absolutely phenomenal. I think, like I say, last year, I don't think anyone could argue that he looked a little bit out of his depth. He was almost, like say, hung out to dry by company last year. And I think his confidence must have taken a hell of a knock last season. But, I mean, he won us that match yesterday. Like, defensively, we were strong. Attacking, all right, we were good on the counter-attack, but he was coming out for crosses. He was commanding in his area. We all knew that he was a good shot stopper anyway. But he was absolutely phenomenal yesterday. I think we've all said that one day he will be a top goalkeeper. The lad's he's still only 21. You know, he's got a high ceiling. He's just, I think this is where he needs to be at this moment in time. He needs to be in the Championship. The step up from League One to Premier League was too high of a step for him to be starting every week. He needed to sit on the bench and learn and develop and learn from a goalkeeper who was better than him. And I think he's gone away. He's had this summer. There were talks of him going to Newcastle, where, let's be honest, he'd have gone to Newcastle to sit on the bench.
Yeah, 100%.
He stayed. He's going to develop in the Championship. And then there's the potential that he leaves in January. There's potential that he leaves in the summer. But he's at the level that he should be at now. And he looks like he's happy to play. He last season, he looked like a little kid. He looked like a little boy. You know, when you had Haaland and Son and, you know, these big players coming at him. Yesterday, he looks like the tallest man on the pitch to claim those crosses. And I think, like you said, it says everything when he's claimed that cross at the end.
100%.
The grin he had on his face.
Yeah, 100%. Although I don't want to reference sort of like a negative point, but I do remember the Luton game last year where he'd done very well all game, and then I think at the end that cross came in, which I still stand by that it's a foul, so it's not his fault really that we conceded that goal. But he was just so keen to come and collect that cross that he ended up getting caught out. I do think there was an element of that yesterday with that cross at the end, but he made it work and he judged it perfectly and he went to catch it as well. Obviously, a lot of comments coming in. Ginger Ali says, first time I've seen Trafford catch a ball from a corner. Fingers crossed, Ginger. It's something he's been working on and something he can do quite well. Colin McGlynn says this is Trafford's level at the moment. Solent says Trafford, it's all about levels. Kind of what I just said, but yeah, completely agree, lads. Clinton Hill, I said, I felt like we had scored when Trafford caught that ball in the final minute. Again, Solent says he's bound to play better with confidence with a steady back four in front of him. There is a comment here that I do agree with, though, from Claret and Blue 1882. He says Traff still needs to work on his long kicks. A few of them went straight out of touch. Yeah, but still probably a 10 out of 10 performance from Trafford for me, or as close you can get to a 10 out of 10 performance. Dan, I'll come to you next. Your thoughts on Trafford's performance, please, mate.
Yeah, I think I'm really proud of what I saw James Trafford today, and I think we're starting to see the goalkeeper that he truly is. I think this is definitely his level. There's no denying that last season in the Premier League wasn't a great season for James Trafford, but what do you expect? You're getting a 21-year-old keeper with only a year of professional football, which is for Bolton in League One, and you're throwing him in as a goalkeeper, starting goalkeeper in a very difficult Premier League side. It's what can you expect? So But the biggest thing that I saw of Trafford yesterday that I'm really, really happy that we've finally seen is that although we had a bad season last year, you know, there was some quality there where some of his shot stopping was good, some of his distribution was okay. But one thing that I never saw last season was his presence in the box. Himself dominating the box. And it's so crucial for a keeper to feel comfortable and confident to have that dominance in his box. And that's what we saw against Leeds yesterday. He was comfortable to come out and get that corner. He was comfortable to make sure that, you know, no one's going to mess around with him when he comes to that box. His presence was known in that box. And I didn't see a single bit of that last season. And that's not hate to him. You know, it's a big jump for him to start Premier League matches. But I completely agree with some of the people commenting, saying that this is definitely his level. And I saw someone, I think it was Colin, say that we're seeing that our players are a lot more physical, and I completely agree. And I think we're seeing with Trafford as well. And regarding the comment of like the sort of his distribution and his long shots, they could be better. But last season, I don't think we ever saw him even attempt them.
Yeah, correct. Dan's connection seems to have frozen a little bit there. There was a little bit of a delay on Dan as well, so there must be something there. I don't know if it's me. I don't know if it's him. I will take Dan out a little bit. Sorry, Dan. It was just a weird freeze. I can still see your camera, by the way, mate. So when you are back, I'll bring you back in. Fingers crossed we get Dan back in the chat soon, because Dan was making some good points there. And to be honest, I'm going to start wrapping it up soon. So Dan, if you can still hear me, maybe leave, come back in, and we'll get some nice points off you again, because I'm going to start wrapping it up within the next 5 minutes, and I normally wrap it up with the man of the match debate. So please, everybody, get your man of the match chats coming in. Andrew, I presume you can still hear me. You are still moving, so it's not my connection. So that's all good. Simon Woodhouse says, man of the match, Trafford for me. So, well, no, sorry, he says, man of the match for me, Trafford. Now, I'm going to give you my man of the match now, because I've already given it on the fan reaction yesterday. It is, of course, James Trafford. And I do quickly just want to sort of mention, I like to have a look at ratings as well sometimes, and see what sort of like the professionals are giving the players. And James Trafford was the man of the match on the FOTMob website. He got a rating of 8.5. You can't see that, can you? This camera's rubbish. But he got a rating of 8.5. And the closest person to him was Worrell with 7.6. So Trafford for me, my man of the match. Andrew, your man of the match, please, mate.
Yeah, I think I can't really argue with Trafford. Like I said before, I think he was absolutely phenomenal yesterday. But I want to give a shout out to Humphreys. I know obviously he got the second yellow card, which he was unfortunate to even get the first one. Obviously the second one, you know, it was a foul, but I thought he came in and played really, really well. Obviously, you know, making his first start for us in the league. I thought he played fantastic. Steve, you know what you're going to get with him now. Just a rock at the back. But yeah, Trafford has to be the man of the match. But yeah, I just wanted to shout them two out as well, because I thought Steve and Humphreys played absolutely fantastic as well.
Yeah, I agree. Although I will say, just looking at them stats that I just showed you, them ratings, they actually give Worrell a higher rating than Esteve. I personally thought Esteve was better, but whatever. It would have been a little bit different maybe if that penalty was given. And I'm pleased to announce that Dan is back. Dan, can you hear me? No? Maybe not. Dan just having some connection issues, but Dan, if you can hear me, I'm going to start. I'm asking for man of the match now. I'm just quickly going to go through people's man of the matches in the comments. Even the Hannibal fans club has said Trafford is the man of the match. Joy Waite says Trafford. Burnley Till I Die says only one for me, and it's Trafford. Man of the match, Trafford, says Claret and Blue 1882. Honourable mention for Steve, obviously similar to what you just said there, Andrew. Paul Johnson says booting it out from the back.
I think so. I think I can hear you. I don't know if I'm delayed.
You are very delayed there, mate.
To shut down on me. I'm not sure why. I haven't got a clue what's going on. I'm really sorry. Clearly the football gods don't want me to talk about Trafford for some reason.
Yeah.
What's that, sorry?
I think you are incredibly delayed, mate. I'll just mute you, mate, just in case you answer like a question in 20 minutes. But What I will say is I'll just keep going through everybody's comments. John Angus fan says Trafford. Solent says Trafford. Ginger Ali says Trafford. Andrew Turmore says Trafford. Super James Trafford says Hartley. Colin McGlynn, just to be different, has said Scott Parker to be man of the match. I'm not sure you can give it a manager, mate, but I understand what you're trying to say because we did do a job on him, and it was Parker that sort of like masterminded that, if you will. And Jake, that is a brilliant YouTube name, by the way. Jacob Reese Dog, absolutely love that. Trafford man of the match as well. And
I
Hannibal
from a fantasy team name next year.
Yes,
Can I
Jacob Reese Dog. That is now your fantasy name next year. That's the point. I've not logged into that since I created it. I'm probably bottom of the TurfCast league. But before we do go, I'll just quickly have another chat with you, Andrew, for another 5 minutes. Obviously, I don't know if you've looked at the fixtures that we've got coming up, but it is now a part of the season where Burnley really need to be starting to turn the screw. I feel we've got some very, very, and I don't mean this with any disrespect to any of the teams that we're about to play, but let's just go through Burnley's next few fixtures. Portsmouth at home, Oxford United away, Plymouth Argyle at home, Preston North End at home. I know it's a Lancashire derby, but they're pretty poor. Sheffield Wednesday away, Hull City away, QPR at home, Millwall away, and then West Brom. Obviously, West Brom's a tough game. They're a good side. I think they'll be thereabouts at the start of the season. But the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 fixtures, with all disrespect, we should be winning 8 of them, shouldn't we? This is the time. Remember that time last year after we beat Blackburn and then we won the 10 games in a row up until the Preston game? We should, in my opinion, be doing something similar and winning the next 8. Obviously, there might be the odd draw in there or, a red card, something might happen. But we should be looking to win all them next 8 games, shouldn't we? And really turning the screw on this league now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I 100% agree. We should, these, especially the next 5, like, you look at the next load and Portsmouth, we should get something. Oxford, we should. Plymouth, we should. I mean, those 3, they're the 3 teams that came up, aren't they? So we should definitely be getting something from them, especially with how many home games we've got. But you've followed Burnley as long as I have. Like, we both know that at some point in those, either Portsmouth, Oxford, or Plymouth will do the job on us. Because
look, they will, and Steve is right. There are no givens, but we have to. We just have to turn the screw on these. Somebody asked a question earlier on, which I did put on screen. That's the answer to the question. Where's it gone now? Somebody said, panel, how many points in the next 8 games? And 24, I think, is being greedy. But I think at the very minimum, that we should get for the next 8 games, if we want to be proper title contenders, is 20 points, in my opinion. What do you think, Andrew?
Yeah, I'd take 24. I'd take 20 at the minute.
Obviously, we take 24,
yeah, 100%. We need to be. Look, we can't lose games like this. I think those next 8 games, especially, we have to be going on an unbeaten run. But Oxford are doing really well.
They are, to be fair. They beat Stoke yesterday at home as well.
Yeah, Plymouth got the good result yesterday as well. Where it was Sunderland, weren't it, that they beat yesterday?
True.
That there's good teams in this league. It's not going to be as easy as we think, but I honestly think, and someone's going to clip this and stick it online for when it doesn't happen, but I honestly think we are a better side than we were when we went up with Company. And I can see us beating the points record that we got under Company.
Really?
So, that's
a statement, mate. That is a statement.
Someone's 100% clipping that and bookmarking it, and but so I can see that happening. But again, we followed Burnley for a long time. You know what happens. You know that it's always your Plymouth, your Oxford, your Portsmouth, someone like that who does beat us. It happened to us last time with QPR. But I honestly
that was intentional. That was intentional.
Oh yeah,
we lost that game on purpose.
We did it deliberately, but yeah, I think from these next 8 games we have to get those points. But yeah, I honestly do think we have the potential. to beat that points record.
Paul Johnson says that's a statement. Clinton Hill says that's a big call, but you never know. I do think we'll be there or thereabouts, and I've predicted us to win the league before we sold all our players, admittedly. But I think after yesterday's performance, I'm leaning more towards very minimum top 2 again. I don't know. I don't want to get all caught up in it because you never know. We lose against Portsmouth and it all comes crashing down. But I'm not sure we'll be that good. I'm not sure we'll be able to break the record, but obviously I'd love it to happen. Now, Dan is back, guys, so I'm going to try him. He's just done this, so I think he's quite. Hello,
am I back? Can you hear
yes,
me?
look at that instant.
Come on.
He's reset the router and he's absolutely perfect.
I haven't got a clue what just happened.
Well,
I think my router's a Leeds fan, to be honest. It's absolutely done me in there.
Yeah, well, I don't know if somebody started watching Corrie downstairs or something, mate, and it just ruined everything. But we are talking about Burnley's next 8 fixtures because I don't know how much you heard of it, but they are all very, very winnable games. I'll just quickly go through them again for your benefit. Next up is obviously Portsmouth at home, then it's Oxford away, then Plymouth at home, Preston at home, Sheffield Wednesday away, Hull away, then QPR at home, Millwall away before we play West Brom, which is obviously a tough fixture. That's 8 games there where we will be favourites and we should individually win all of them games. Obviously, can we go and win 8 games in a row? Obviously, last time out, we won 10 games in a row. So there's no givens, as people have said in the chat. But what are your thoughts on these next 8 games, mate? How well do you think Burnley can do? And what would be your minimum points total from these games? I've said 20. Like anything less than 20, I think is a bit poor.
Yeah, I think on paper, realistically, if we're just looking on paper, we should win all these games. But the pessimist I am, I don't think so. I don't think that's happening. To be honest, one thing I do want to say about these set of games, because like I said, on paper, they look relatively easy. Weirdly enough, our next 3 games, I think it is, we are against the teams that have just got promoted, which is a quite odd fixture list. But I think these next 8 games will define our season, because it's these type of games that really truly determine whether a side is willing enough or determined enough to win a league. Because like I said, on paper, we have to beat these teams. And if we can't beat these teams, how can we confidently say we have a chance of the title? So I think on paper, we should beat these teams. If you're asking me, I think we're going to get some frustrating draws. I think we might lose one of them, maybe 2. But to be honest, we should be going into every game thinking, we have to win this. I think these next 2-3 games are going to be the toughest because, we've seen these teams such as Oxford and Portsmouth, where people have sort of undermined them and thinking, oh, well, teams are going to absolutely sweep them. But all the games that they've played in, other than Portsmouth yesterday, I think against West Brom, or today, sorry, they've been challenging sides. And, teams, this is the sort of perfect segment for teams to really understand what their season projection is going to be. And their teams settling into their roles, their dynamics, gelling well, as chemistry-wise. So I think I would like to say that, around 20 is what we should be aiming for. I am such a pessimist. I'm thinking we'll win about 2 games and lose the rest, to be honest. But on paper, we should be winning them all. Let's just see what happens. But the biggest thing for me is these next 8 games definitely define the season. And I also did hear Andrew say that he thinks that we're going to beat the Vincent Kompany points record. Respectfully, I don't know what you're drinking, but I'd love some of that because that is absolutely mental. But I love that confidence, and I wish I had it, but I don't. I'm a pessimist. My aim is promotion.
100% at the end of the season, someone's going to clip that up, and it's probably going to be one of them watching down the road. They're going to clip it up, they're going to stick it all over, and that's going to be my legacy of my life, that I said we will beat the points record.
If anyone's going to clip it up, I would recommend David Gold clips it up, because he's offering you a bet here, mate, on the screen. There is no chance that we will beat that record. I wager $100. I don't know why I've gone with Dot. Maybe you're from America, mate. Apologies if you are. But he's wagering $100, which I think is what, 88 quid? Yeah. So there's a chance there, David. Clip it up, present it to Andrew at the end of the season and say, hey, you owe me $100. David Gold says, talking about winning. There you go. If you're from round here, David, there you go. But he does go on to say, talking about winning future games and speculating is a real waste of energy and breath. Let's just assess our performance after every game. We are Clarets, so we can think. We are Clarets, so we think we can win everything. But maybe the older generation, maybe, David. I'm just you may not be older, mate. I don't know why I've said that. But just because of the pessimism in you, but obviously Dan is quite as well. And he's a Canadian Claret, so there you go. So it's 100 Canadian dollars. I have no idea what the exchange rate is there, mate. Yeah, next time you're over, there you go. He's 68, nearly the same age as my dad. So I've just offended my dad as well. Morning, Dad, when you listen to this. But yeah, fair enough, David. I just do like to look ahead and stuff, especially towards the end of the stream as well, because we've discussed the game and I like to round it up. Dan, you didn't get a chance to say your man of the match by the way. I presume you're going to go with Trafford?
Yeah, it's got to be Trafford. I mean, like I said, biggest thing that I saw yesterday is his dominance, his presence in the box. Absolutely love it. I think we're going to see a proper season, proper player this season. And Andrew, you mentioned sort of with Trafford last season, we sort of saw a boy, sort of a little boy in the Premier League. But now we're seeing a proper keeper, and we saw it yesterday. And I'm excited to see what we see of Trafford come this season, because I think we'll finish the season thinking, you know what, I'm willing to give Trafford a go in the Premier League after the season. I think he's ready for it now. Well, I hope we're thinking that anyway. But yeah, it's definitely James Trafford. Outstanding performance, and he's the real winner yesterday, 100%.
Yeah, fair enough. Speaking of Coronation Street as well, I just want to quickly reference. I don't know the actor's name, but there's like a disabled actor who uses one of them walkers on Coronation Street. I don't know if you watch Coronation Street.
Time to time.
Yeah, I don't watch it, but there was a Leeds fan, because yesterday I panned my camera to the Leeds fans all walking off, because I knew it'd be funny. I knew they'd get rattled, so I like as they're walking away, and this guy walks past it with like not a Zimmer frame, but so I don't know what it is. I don't know what it's called. Apologies if I'm offending anybody. I just don't know what it's called. And it turns out, I think some people are saying it's a guy called Jack Clark, who's not the Sunderland fan. I might be wrong, Sunderland player, but a guy called Jack who's on Coronation Street. And I'm like, surely not. And I googled it yesterday, and he's actually a Leeds fan. So I think I might have accidentally snapped a famous actor walking off the Coronation Street yesterday. But I did put it on Twitter. So if you want to go and look at it, Dan, if you're a avid Coronation Street fan, you might know whether it's him or not. But I will wrap it up here. He's a comedian, apparently. Didn't know that. So hopefully he'll see the funny side. But I don't know if it is him. It might not be. But I'm going to start wrapping it up here, lads. But what I also like to do, Dan, again, I don't know how often you watch it. Like I said, I know you do a lot of TikTok stuff for us, so you're a very busy man. But I also like to ask the floor if there's anything else we want to discuss before we wrap it up. Is there anything that I may have missed that you saw yesterday on the match? And again, obviously, Andrew, the question's for you as well, that you want to quickly mention or talk about before I wrap it up.
For me, I think we've pretty much covered everything from yesterday's game. You know, I do want to say, although I am a huge pessimist when it comes to Burnley, I do think we have a good season ahead, and I think as a whole, I think Scott Parker's the right man. Whether he's the right man when going to the Premier League, that's another debate. But as it stands, I do just want to say, although I'm a pessimist, I'm excited for the season and can't wait for these next few games.
Yeah, well, obviously we've got a kind of like a trademark with Sam. It's called the Sam rant. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but Sam likes to have a rant every now and then.
Yeah.
And you've now got your own trademark.
Oh,
Dan the Corrie fan. There you go.
That is brilliant.
So there you go. Now, every time Coronation Street's on the TV, mate, people will be thinking of you. Andrew, anything we've not discussed that you wanna discuss?
I'm just going to have to start watching Corrie again, aren't I? That's all I'm taking away from it, to be honest. Yeah. But no, I think we played well yesterday. It were a good game, good result. Bring on Portsmouth.
Bring on Portsmouth, indeed. There's one thing I do want to quickly mention, because there has been obviously a lot of debate about the referee and things like that. He was poor, and I've also said about the penalty and stuff. Fair enough, you might disagree, but he was poor for both teams. I don't think Humphreys deserved to be sent off. He got a very poor yellow card. I do think the second yellow card is a yellow card, but he shouldn't have already been on the book, and he wasn't time wasting. He was just trying to find a throw in. Ridiculous decision. Referees get carried away sometimes, and I do think the referee was poor for both teams. There was a lot of incidents where Fleming was pulled back in the box that we've not really made a fuss about because we won. It stopped a lot of counter-attacks with some cynical fouls. So the referee were poor for both sides. I do think he was a poor ref. Just want to quickly bring this comment in. We've gone worldwide. Makram Luete, apologies if I butchered your name, mate. I probably have. He says, hi, guys, from Tunisia. We've obviously got a new fan thanks to Hannibal Medre. But we've also obviously got the Hannibal Medre fans club in the chat as well, who was in the chat earlier. Solent Clarets says, see you at the Pompey game, Joe. Travelling up from Portsmouth, my local has booked a minibus. They are going straight to the cricket field. Yeah, drop us a message. Obviously, I answered your message yesterday, mate. I know you responded. I've not had a chance to look at it yet, if I'm honest. But yeah, hopefully see you when you're up, mate. I do go on with my little boy, so I'm not sure if I'll get to certain pubs, but I normally go in the fan zone. We'll discuss it on Twitter, mate. We'll discuss it on Twitter. Colin says, I love Burnley at the moment, not be able to go and watch. So thanks, Joe, for your channel. No worries at all, Colin. That's why I do it, mate, because I know that some... Why is that not working, by the way? Normally when I do that, it has like a thumbs up thing. It's not working. What about if I did that? There you go. Look at that. You, Colin. But it's part of the reason why I do it. It never works for anybody else apart from me, Andrew. I don't know why.
So odd.
It's not working now for me, the thumbs up. Oh, there you go.
Oh, there we
go.
go.
Colin, that's for you. That's for you. And watch if I do this.
Oh.
Hey, look at that. How good is that? I don't know why it's frozen on my face. Can you hear me still? Can you hear me? That's ridiculous.
It was good until it froze. That's
yeah. Can you guys?
No, you just look like Jay off in between us. Friend.
You know that dinosaur Jurassic Park where like it's all like neck comes out. That's what it looks like at the minute with like the whole sprinkles. Oh,
so I presume you can hear me. Can you not? Say yes if you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Oh, thank God for that. Right. I'll just wrap it up there then. I don't know. Yeah. Clinton says, the effects of crash your PC. I don't know why. Just look at this. I know what you mean about that dinosaur. I can't remember what they call, but that looks... Put it this way. I won't be doing that again live on stream. But yeah, Colin, that's for you, mate. I hope you enjoyed it. You've crashed my PC, so thank you. No, I'm joking, Colin. Obviously, it's not your fault. But what I'll do is, I do feel sorry for the people listening on the podcast because they haven't got a clue what's going on now. But I will start wrapping it up here. Andrew, thank you again. Andrew is honestly Mr. Reliable. Like, I understand people have lives, so I'm not at 1 second going to criticise any of the lads that couldn't make it on today. Chris has got some big stuff on. Vizzy's got some big stuff on. Neil's a lazy bastard, and Sam's on holiday. But Andrew, no matter what the time of day is, he is always there. So Andrew, big shout out to you for coming on. I really do appreciate it. And Dan, you've made your debut. How do you feel, mate? You enjoyed it?
Living the dream, mate. It's brilliant. Yeah, cracking. Cheers for having me on.
Yeah, no, that's definitely not my new profile picture, Clarets Blue 1882. I still can't believe it's still not unfroze. I look ridiculous. But yeah, we will wrap it up there, and hopefully when I press end stream, my camera will return to normal. But big shout out. Thanks, Andrew, for that private message there, which is clearly a picture of my face. But obviously, to those of you that joined the stream later on, maybe you're from Tunisia and you joined it later on and you want to listen back, as soon as I press end stream, it stays on YouTube, it stays on Facebook for you to watch back as a standalone video from the start all the way to the end. You can watch it as and when. And of course, if you want to listen to it as a podcast, maybe on your commute in the morning, I do upload it as a podcast as soon as I press end stream as well. So it will be there ready for your morning commute, whether you're going to school, work, uni, whatever, I don't know. But yeah, thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everyone for listening. We will see you next time. Just quickly catch up with some of the comments. Clinton Hill says, cheers lads, up the Clarets. Cheers, mate. Colin says, thanks. Sorry about breaking your PC. Yeah, no worries, Colin. It's all right, mate. Andrew Turmore says, thanks, lads. Yeah, no worries. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We'll obviously be doing a pre-game show before the Portsmouth match and a full-time show as well. But yeah, we'll see you next time.